Spencer Owen is a very special man. Very recently, he completed a 24-hour game of football. The guy is a machine, but he cares as well. He did it all for Movember, and this is their page right now. If you want to donate and get the guys to £24,000, which I know was their aim at the start of all of this. I mean, 20,000 is a joke, but if you can help them, you feel like being kind today and making a difference, you can do it. You can do it right now. Link is in the description. Go and donate to the Hashtag United Movember Fund. Enjoy the video. Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel, and more importantly, welcome back to another episode of Dream Teams. We've had some stellar guests over the weeks and months, I guess. Mark Goldbridge, Rory's been on, we've had Neda Manua, Emmanuel Petit. I don't know if Lothar Matthäus has come out yet, it probably hasn't, but there you go, exclusive. Lothar Matthäus is going to be on Dream Teams as well, but there's a name that has been suggested several times, and so we had to get this man on. He's a good friend. He's a good guy. His name is Spencer. Here he is. Finally. The crowds are going mad right now. They probably would have seen it in the title previous to that. But how are you, mate? All good?
I can't believe I'm following Lothar Matthäus and Emmanuel Petit. Unbelievable. What a couple of names to follow. Yeah, mate, I'm very good, thank you. Great to be here. Big fan of the James Lawrence Allcott channel, as you know. So
I'm a big fan of your free shirts and your football gloves, so that's good. That makes two of us.
It's usually you wearing this shirt.
I know, mate. I love it. I absolutely love the home kit this year. It's the arms look good. I find the tailoring really, really good on your shirts. But the last 2 years would have been able to get my hands on one. Anyway, we've got your team here. A lot of people have been asking about this. And I've looked at it. I like it. I think it's a very nice team. There's been previous teams where I've gone, why? And with this team, I think I understand why in pretty much all of them. But at the same time, I think there's going to be some nice depth to some of the answers. There's maybe one why. Actually. Before we kind of get into your team, how was it putting it together?
Unenjoyable, mate. I found it very tough because, like, there's a lot of players that probably would have been wise that I would have included for, like, sort of emotional. I mean, they're all emotional reasons, but I just felt really, when a manager's actually picking the team in real life and he has to pick who's going to be on the bench and you feel bad. I literally felt bad for the players who obviously don't care if they're in my best 11 or not. Yeah. In my head, I was like, oh, you deserve to be in, pal. I'm sorry, you'll be in next week. But it's as happy as I can ever be with the 11, I think.
I'll tell you what then, give us a couple of notable mentions that didn't make it in. Because, like you say, this is why I don't put my team forward, because I just don't know. There'd need to be 15, and I'd have to turn it into a rugby team. So, who has missed out on this team?
Well, growing up, whenever I was kicking the ball in the garden with my brothers and stuff, there's a couple names I used to always pretend to be. You know, that's the thing you do as a kid. It was Del Piero. I loved Del Piero, and I wouldn't have had. It was probably Italia 90, not Italia 90. Football Italia, the TV show, would have been my only real exposure to him. Like, at that age, I'm talking like 1998 time. I was about 10, maybe seeing him in the World Cup, things like that. But it's not like we could see the level of foreign football back then as we can now.
Yeah,
I loved Del Piero. Steve McManaman, I really liked that time. I know he's probably not a name that stood the test of time. If you go back to again 98. In the England World Cup team, obviously went to Real Madrid, scored in the Champions League final. I think he's the only Englishman in the Real Madrid Hall of Fame. Like, he was decent, and I really liked him.
He went under the radar, didn't he, a little bit as well in terms of his career? I guess Liverpool fans kind of liked him, but there was always like someone a little bit better. But in terms of our generation and people heading off to go abroad, I think there was a little gap between like David Platt and Gaza, who they were like just before.
Lineker. Yeah.
And then there was a little gap of not many players going across, and then McManaman made his way. So yeah,
it was a weird one as well. It wasn't like a Real Madrid signing when they did it, was it? It wasn't like when they signed Beckham and the Galacticos. They were like, Steve McManaman, really?
yeah.
And he was decent. They loved him over there.
They did.
And he learned Spanish. Again, she's like, it's not something you always expect from these English footballers. You went out there and you proper amalgamated. And I really like Edgar Davids, and I really liked Michael Carrick when he was at West Ham. There's loads more, mate. But it was tough. It was tough, but. And Antonio as well. I don't want to go with the recency bias.
It's tough, isn't it, the recency bias? But I can imagine. So I would have that same problem of that. Like with I have been thinking about my team, and there is someone who I do think about from like right now, who's in the team right now, and I think, oh, would he go in? And the reason I kind of stopped myself from putting him in is just because it's now. Like it's almost like it means that it sort of lacks a bit of validation. But anyway, let's dive into it. I love Antonio as well. Now, let's kick off with your goalkeeper. Now, this is ridiculous. When I saw this name, I'm like, again? We've had about 4 people pick this goalkeeper. Why have you chosen this goalkeeper? Go for it.
Yes, I've gone with Chilavert, and that's because I actually struggled with the goalkeeper spot. I was thinking about it. You start off with your club, you start off with West Ham. I think probably Fabianski's the best keeper we've ever had in my lifetime, to be honest. McCloskey's like a cult hero, but it was not quite as good, I wouldn't say, as Fabianski, even though he was a legend. And we had a song about him. And then I was thinking about England keepers, and David James is someone that I've been lucky enough to. He's played in the Wembley Cup, and we've done a few different things with him. He managed our team at Clash of Creators, and he's very good, David James, actually. But this goalkeeper, Chilavert, when you watched him again in that same era, when I was sort of 10 watching football, he was just unique. There was no one else like him in football. And this idea that it's almost like an insult to goalkeepers, isn't it? The only one I'll choose is the one that actually does stuff outfield.
In free kicks. Yeah.
But it was so rare. And what I loved most about it wasn't necessarily that he scored goals. It was that he was prepared to take the free kicks and then have to leg it back. Yeah. That's the best bit. So, and his goal scoring, if you actually look at his stats, they're actually unbelievable. Like he wasn't just taking things, he was scoring things. And he was a good keeper too, let's not forget. But yeah, keeper one was tough for me. Unfortunately, there haven't been that many keepers that have made a massive lasting impact with me. Again, perhaps because I'm a West Ham fan and we've spent most of my life shipping goals,
Yeah, that's true. Ludo is on my shortlist because he came to QPR and actually did really well for us. Ludo. But Chilavert, I think you're right. When you're looking for a goalkeeper, the problem you have with goalkeepers is it's very difficult to be outrageously outstanding because even if you make big saves, the game carries on. And so it doesn't you don't get to like knee slide off into the corner, have that moment, all that stuff. So for someone like Chilavert, I think that is the thing in a game that's becoming less and less, or it feels like individual. Like he was very, very individual. I mean, he must have been incredibly individual because honestly, I think you're about the 6th person to put Chilavert. I think Goldbridge did it. I think Paul Machin's done it. Someone else has done it as well. I can't remember.
He's done that's a sign of a good career, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you can get Goldbridge on board, you're doing all right. Right, we've gone 4-4-2 with this formation.
Of course we have.
Nice and British, lovely. Let's start. This is really interesting. Let's start with your right back, who obviously you're very close to.
Yeah, Azpilicueta is my right back. Could have played him anywhere in the back 4. That's one of the reasons he gets straight in the all-time team because he just gives me options, mate.
Yeah, if you've got an injury, you're sorted.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so I have a personal relationship with him. He's part of Hashtag, which is massive, and that's like a massive reason as to why he's in the team. Obviously, right? As a footballer, though, I do think he's massively underrated. If you actually look at what he's done since he joined Chelsea, I think he's 7th in the all-time Chelsea appearances now, or something like that. Like he's been around a while. He signed for them right after they won the last, not the most recent one, but the Champions League before that under Di Matteo. He signed that season. And he's basically been ever present since then. He's a massive part of when they came in and Conte came in and changed to a back 3 and he was reinvented as a right centre back. But obviously he can play right back, left back. And I really do enjoy him as a player. And I also think if you were to compare me as a footballer, that would be who I am. Because if you actually think about the positions I've played in my life, I basically play centre back, full back, wing back. And I think my best position is probably right centre back, which is I think probably his best position. So I've always liked that about him. But obviously he's in there because he's, actually impacted my life off the pitch. He's helped the football club that I've, built my life around in recent years. And that's got to be honoured. And I love him. So he's in my team. So
talk to me about that then, because I think that's quite insightful. And I think from a playing point of view, that's fair. 305 games for Chelsea. He's been there a long time, since 2012, so it's going to be 10 years coming up soon. And with the sort of general upheaval that you always have at Chelsea, and it's like elite upheaval, for him to survive throughout that, it just shows how competent, efficient, consistent he is as a footballer. But aside from that, how did you guys meet, and how did it come about that you started to sort of work together?
He's as well as football, he's very interested in the esports side of things, and he's been a big FIFA fan. And he was at one of the FIFA World Cup events, the E-World Cup esports event that I was the host at. Actually, probably about 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And we got talking there. he actually got introduced to me because I think that he was flirting with the idea or being asked about whether he'd be interested in getting into esports himself. You know, a lot of footballers start their own teams, you know, Ozil and like everyone's got one. Griezmann, Gareth Bale, they've all got one. And he actually came to me and we met the first time, and then we were speaking sort of after that, and he basically said, look, I'm being asked about getting into an esports team, but I really like what Hashtag United are doing. Like, if I'm going to, before I go and explore this other option, I'd like to know if there's an option to get involved in Hashtag. And I was just like, music to my ears, mate. Yeah, we'd love someone like you on board. Obviously, unbelievable asset to have, you know, be able to walk into a meeting and say, I've got the Chelsea Champions League winning captain as part of Hashtag. It's a good conversation starter. Yeah. So, and he's been really good. So that's how it happened. And he has since created a Spanish esports team as well. So he's got a team called Falcons in Spain, but it's very much, and what I think he likes about Hashtag is we're not just an esports team, we have the football as well. And who knows what's going to happen with him long term. But obviously England is a huge part of him. His kids have been born here, you know, and regardless of where he ends up, I think he likes the fact that Hashtag is going to allow him to leave a legacy in this country, you know. And so, and we love him for it, yeah. And
finally, his personality, like I think, like I say, you sort of see it. Is it similar to the personality that you see on the pitch? What's he like as a guy?
Very chilled, very nice guy. Very intelligent, you know, like I used to work with Vincent Kompany back in the day. He could have been in this team as well.
I was thinking, he's not made it in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a bit harsh, to be fair, actually, that he's not made it in there. And I think it's just because that position was so competitive for me, and you'll see why when we do it. But when I worked for Vincent, I was always impressed by the fact that he was doing stuff like he was doing an MBA at Manchester Business School. Like he was going and sitting in seminars with these 21-year-old kids while he was earning however much a week. You know, you have to have a certain bit about you to go and do that.
Yeah.
And that's been has done similar stuff. He's done an MBA, I think, as well in business management. Like he's a sharp tool. And so yeah, very, 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 very kind as well. When I was at the Russia World Cup, I had all the England ticket games, but he let me go and sit in his seats for the Spain-Russia game, which actually was one Russia knocked Spain out on penalties.
Yeah.
And things like that. He's always offering kind gestures and things like that. He's always looking out for the club, offering how he can support. He's made some massive charitable donations on our behalf beyond investing in the club as well. So I've literally got no bad word to say about him. And I think on the pitch, he's got that tenacity, you know, that feistiness, which I like in players.
Yeah. Do you know what I think with him, and there's certain players like this, and I think you're quite similar with this as well, is, okay, you might not be the best player on the pitch, but you'll be on the winning team. That's what I always think with Aspilicueta. Like he's like, if I'm picking a team, I'm going, I'll have Spencer because we'll figure it out. We'll find a way to win. And I think Aspilicueta's kind of got that in him. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to your centre backs, which are pretty iconic. Let's start off with the younger one first. Another person that you know incredibly well, a player who played for QPR as well. So it didn't go as well for me as it did for you with him at West Ham. Rio Ferdinand's your first centre-back. Is this down to the kind of West Ham connection, or is it, again, one of those ones a bit more sort of outside of football?
It's a bit of both. You know, when I started playing football, I was playing centre-back. I had Rio Ferdinand on the back of my shirt. He was at West Ham. He was the big name coming through. Obviously, he was only with us for a few years, but when we sold him, £18 million to Leeds, that money basically built a new stand at West Ham. That's what we used to call it, the Ferdinand stand or the Rio stand, like unofficially. And obviously, the career he's then gone on to have, massive. One of the best English centre-backs of all time in a very competitive era of English centre-backs with Sol Campbell and John Terry and whatnot. But yeah, and the Ferdinand name as well. Like that Ferdinand shirt that I had, I was able to carry it going for a while because after him we had Anton and then we had Les Ferdinand. Obviously Les is their uncle as well. So there's that another. All three of them play for QPR as well.
Yeah. All three of them. Yeah.
And then obviously after his career, been able to work with him a few times through BT Sport and things like that. And he's been very helpful and very, very kind as well to everything we've always done, which means a lot. But I mean, he's in there on footballing ability, and he's just an awesome centre back, and he's another example of the West Ham Academy and what they've produced. And he's actually the only player in this team that's in my lifetime that's come out of that West Ham Academy. But I could have had. Oh yes, you got another one actually.
Yeah.
But I could have had 4 or 5 in there. and he just embodies that, I think.
It's my memories of Rio Ferdinand, my first memory of him, and because I was trying to remember, and I had a look on Wikipedia, there wasn't much on him at West Ham, which I thought was really disappointing. Do better, Wikipedia. But I remember, when you'd go to a game and then you'd drive home and you'd listen to the radio, and that was kind of where you got a lot of your information on the other teams at the time. And I remember him at West Ham, and West Ham was struggling, and I think he might have even been playing centre midfield at this point when he was when he was really, really young. And I thought he was going to come through as this centre midfielder, but actually, obviously, as time progressed, football progressed as well, and he became this wonderful centre back. But another one, I guess, because this will be where we can maybe park the idea of people that are in this team that are sort of involved in your life outside of it all. And I think there's something in that as well, because I was chatting about this with someone recently, that this idea that if you're doing other things, then you're not concentrating on your football. And I think Ferdinand's another one of those who's kind of switched on, entrepreneurial. You've seen that with Five and with the different things that he's done. I see that as a positive in these people. If they've got other interests, they're keeping their mind busy, they're keeping their mind sort of evolving and developing and learning new things. I always think that's always a good thing, and something that Ferdinand had quite early on as well. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, I think that football is a very diverse sport, so you're going to have all kinds of characters, right? You'd be stupid or it'd be silly to expect an 11 or a squad of 23 players to all have the same personality. Some are going to be business-minded and want to do other things outside of football. Some will get all the fulfillment they need out of football. Some of them, as we've seen famously, don't even like football that much, but they're just very good at it and they get paid a lot of money to do it. So everyone's different, and I don't know whether I find myself drawn to these sorts of players because of that entrepreneurial attitude they have, or their entrepreneurial attitude is what's brought them into my world, if you like, which is why we've met. And do you know what I mean? But if Rio hadn't played for West Ham, I don't think he'd be in this team. I think that's still the key part of it for me. But I do, I think that the people, there's no reason having these side projects and things should make you a worse footballer. It's just down to your own measurement of what you can afford to allow into your head. What you can afford to be in there and still be able to focus. At the end of the day, if you can focus and you're mentally strong enough, football's not that long a gig, in terms of hours a day. You can do other things. You just need to be able to compartmentalize your brain, which probably some can do better than others. A lot of them have got stick for it at the time. Like when he was doing the 5mag stuff and he's making these videos, they give him stick. Azpilicueta probably at times would be worried about people saying, as soon as Chelsea lose a game, he shouldn't be doing all this other stuff. But that's the risk you take on, I think. Yeah,
and you're right. It does come back. This is what I think is always interesting doing people's dream teams, because I think it doesn't give a total reflection of them, but it shows what's kind of important to you. And obviously the West Ham thing is the number one thing overall. But those people that you find interesting and have had an impact in your life as well, I think it's interesting that those two made it onto the list. But I mean, Ferdinand, absolute ridiculous footballer. Your other centre back, was surprised that this player made his way onto your list, because you won't have seen him play. But go on, you explain why you've put this person in as your second centre back.
So I think the same thing, right? Can I put him in? Can I put in a player who I wasn't alive when he played? And if this is where Vincent Kompany would have gone if I hadn't done that. It would have been the centre back instead. But the world that I grew up in was shaped by Bobby Moore. And it's almost not about, and I've seen everything I can see. Do you know what I mean? I've watched all the footage. I've seen the full 90 minutes of many games and things, but that's not why he's in there. As much as I think he was, mustard, absolutely mustard. A different kind of centre-back to what we have now. Obviously, we were playing very different formations back then, but Bobby Moore has shaped my whole life in so many ways. Not just the West Ham identity. He's the reason that number 6 is my lucky number. He's the reason that I've always worn number 6 on my shirt, regardless of what position I'm playing. It's weird because when you actually look into the history of Bobby Moore and the life of Bobby Moore, he actually was shunned a little bit by West Ham when he first retired.
Yes.
And they didn't actually look at, a lot of football turned their back on him a little bit, which is, it's sacrilege if you actually think about how he's perceived now and how important he was to English football. I think at the time, England were a bit arrogant. West Ham were probably a bit arrogant in thinking we're going to win loads of World Cups, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah, you won the first one, cool. We're going to win one next week. And now looking back, we realise and we respect that team a lot more. But when he retired, he was he didn't have a job for a while. And he was doing little commentary gigs on the side just to keep going. And I think he had to work as a car salesman and stuff for a bit, which I know that obviously the money in football wasn't the same back then.
Yeah.
But he's only now really, since he died, obviously quite young of cancer, is he really appreciated the level he should have been all along. You know, the only England winning, and there's a lot of West Ham in this team. There's also a lot of England in this team because I love international football, and I've followed England, you know, multiple World Cups all over the world, and he's still the only one. Still the only one that's won it. He's still the only one that's lifted it. You know, for England, and that's got to mean something. So yeah, I know some people will be like, "Come on, how can you put him in?" But he's shaped my football.
Yeah,
adventure,
I get, mate. I totally get it. I over my kind of footballing career, there are different numbers that I've liked along the way due to different players. But when I sort of became, I don't know, an adult, I liked 6 as well. Like for a similar reason. He's my dad's idol. Bobby Moore is like above the whole, you know, literally any player you could ever think of. He's an absolute god to him, and it's the reason why he's a great pick in your team is because it shows the sort of how football can make its way through the generations. Like the fact that it's got to you shows how his integrity, the way he played. So for those of you who haven't seen Bobby Moore, go watch clips on him. He had like OCD. He was a real neat freak. If you watch him pick up the World Cup, he wipes his hands because he knows he's seen that the Queen's got white gloves and he knows he's going to have to shake her hand and he doesn't want to make her hands dirty. He wouldn't really dive in. That was a big thing. And when the pitches were terrible, everyone's looking horrific, he was still just sort of floating about without a bit of mud on him. Just a bit like Rio Ferdinand, I guess, to a point. Obviously in a bygone age. But like an amazing player. And yes, the fact that it gets down to myself, and also that it becomes almost his values become the values of a football club in West Ham. I think that's pretty special. I think that's really, really special. So I get why you picked him. I think it's a really, really nice choice. It shows that someone who I think died in, I want to say 1993, has still got that kind of impact on a football club. Absolutely outrageous. Right, let's move on. Left back. This is the why. This is the why for me. I was surprised by this one. Maybe it's a recency thing, but yeah, tell me about your left back.
I was struggling with left back. I was going to move Azpilicueta over to left back, and I was going to find another right back, and I was thinking about maybe throwing Cafu in at right back.
Were you a Julian Dix fan?
I was a Julian Dix fan, yeah. I did like him. I mean, I think he was unlucky not to get an England call-up. Supposedly didn't get one because he had a skinhead, and that was why I didn't put him in. He was one of the best left backs in the country for a long time. But this is the thing, though. This is why I think, and I thought about this for a bit because I did want to have someone from the current West Ham era in there because we are the best team I've ever had. That's just a fact. Like, wow. We did finish 5th in the league once during my lifetime. We finished 5th with a negative goal difference. Like, that's quite hard to do.
Yeah, that's impressive.
We probably deserve a trophy for that.
Yeah.
But we, this team now, what we're doing and what Moyes has got us doing and the way we're playing and the sort of confidence and the changing room, it's really impressive group. And I was looking at Antonio. My first draft of this team had Declan Rice in there, which I knew would have got some people probably going like, oh, come on. But no, he's already done a lot. Trust me, for West Ham in those 3-4 years he's been playing. And he's already one of the best players I've seen maybe ever play for West Ham in ability.
It's amazing how it can
talked about.
That if you're saying you're happily saying that this is the best team you've watched, and a lot of these players were in that same squad of a team where it was felt like a car crash. It's amazing how much it's changed, isn't it?
Yeah, and it shows you like what a person can do and a few transfers can do, and it is just a couple key individuals. I think the reason West Ham in general doing so well now is with almost all our squad are in their prime. Right, almost all of them. We've got Ben Johnson, Declan Rice, young, but then a lot of them are between the sort of ages of like 24 to 30, which is great. And it just means in a couple of years, we're going to have a few people need replacing. Antonio's getting on. Soufal's, I think, 29 already. Like, there's some really good, strong players in there, but they will need swapping in. But that's why we're hitting the ground now. No one's learning on the job. So Cresswell's in there because him and Antonio between, it came down to positions really. He's just been a very, really good servant to the club. Unbelievably consistent. Silly amount of assists for this club, and he's done a lot of set pieces and whatnot. But I needed a left back, and I was just thinking, who are the best left backs I've seen? And I was thinking, the best left back I've seen is probably Ashley Cole, right? Like, he's superb, one of the best left backs of all time. But I don't have that affinity towards the man.
Don't care.
I really
for
like
him.
Aaron Cresswell.
I
I think he's amazing, actually, Cole. But I really like Aaron Cresswell, and I wanted someone from the current West Ham team in there. And I just thought, you know what, he's been doing well for so long. I'm going to throw him in there. I probably would have gone Antonio ahead of him if I had room for him. I couldn't fit him in.
I think that's something I haven't spoken to anyone about with dream teams as well. Is like, where's one where in a year's time, maybe even tomorrow, you're feeling different, and it changes. It's Cresswell, I would imagine, is the kind of the weakest link, for want of a better phrase.
If I wasn't trying to play a formation, I would have definitely thrown Vincent Kompany in as the fourth defender, and it would just had a centre back at left back. But I've done that before, and it always riles people if you don't have it. So I thought I'm going to play a proper formation.
Right. Yeah. Well, see that. I mean, God, there's so many problems with dream teams trying to figure out: do you stick with a formation? Does that mean you're crowbarring players into a formation? Do you just try and figure out 11 players? It's tough. Anyway, that is your back four. We move into the second four of this 4-4-2. Let's start off on the right-hand side with, we've got a wand of a left foot at left back. But I don't think he would actually take many set pieces, would he? Because of your right winger.
Only if you wanted the in-swingers or whatever from the other side, because you've got David Beckham on the right, and I'm sure he's in most people's teams. Like he, probably not the best. Well, he's not the best footballer in this team, and he probably isn't even one of the best footballers of his generation. To be honest, like he was the best at certain things. Yeah, he was the best crosser and passer of the ball, I think, maybe I've still ever seen.
Yeah.
And ever will see. And even when you see him now, and he plays in these like charity games,
he runs it, doesn't he?
That's the thing. He's timeless as a player.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about Beckham is I don't know what position he'd play now, because we don't. Like, I'm thinking, would he be a right wing back? Would he be a centre mid? Because his position doesn't exist anymore. There's no right midfielders anymore, really.
I get what you mean. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
not a winger.
Yeah, and if you, because he wanted to play centre midfield, didn't he? You could, like with England, they were sort of trying to. He was clearly like the one who put forward the most output for the team. So it got to a point where he was going to try. I think it was it Wales or Northern Ireland or something? We played a different formation and he played centre midfield. It just didn't work because the point of him was to have him on that right flank, not needing to beat his man. We're putting one cross in and you got yourself a goal. But you're right, the game's moved so far forward. I think he would have to be a Trent, maybe. If you think of young Beckham, he's got the stamina. I think, and his positioning was actually
Trent's
quite good.
Probably the closest in terms of he hasn't got the same crossing as Beckham, but he's very good crosser of the ball, and he's not rapid. Trent, like, you know what I mean. You don't have to be. To be honest, Beckham's probably as good a defender as Trent.
I think that's it. I think that's it. Because as well, if you think about how Trent's playing now, Trent doesn't stay as wide as he used to. He actually starts sort of drifting into the inside a little bit to almost become another centre midfielder as time goes on. So I think he'd suit that quite well, actually. But yeah,
it's about what team you're playing in. Like if you're playing in a five at the back or whatever, obviously Trent's a right back in a back four, right? But he plays like a bloody attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
If you're in a good team, like a Chelsea, for example, that play a right wing back, then you could easily have a Beckham there. If you're in one of these teams that are lining up to defend, is Beckham your best right wing back? Probably not. But then the only team's playing a 4-4-2. You're like your Burnleys, say, like. Would he work well in that? You know, one of Beckham's big things was Neville on the overlap. Because Neville wouldn't even necessarily get the ball, but he'd just take someone away. He had that space to cross, and regardless of whether you can fit him in anymore, everyone my age, I'm sure you're the same, just love David Beckham, like just worshipped him as a player, and he's obviously England captain. When he was injured the 2002 World Cup and we didn't know if he was going to get back, it was just like the worst thing ever. I think he's just class. I think obviously he's got into Miami thing as well in America, which is very interesting, and I follow that. He's involved in Salford City as well. So I love Beckham.
Yeah, man. I just love. I'm a sucker for players with vision and you strike. There's some players who strike a ball, like it's kind of like they're sort of slicing it, but they're not slicing it. He's got that little gorgeous little swerve on it as well when he would do those pings. Unique in how he kicked the ball as well, which I think a lot of people tried to copy, but it was all from Beckham at the start. Yeah, good choice. Your midfield too. Because I'm going to have to put them together as a 2 to a point, just because I think that's a talking point in itself. Go for it.
Well, if you're basing it off my lifetime, this midfield almost certainly wouldn't work. Although the only one I have got missing is Paul Scholes, so maybe the one I've got on the left might help us.
Fix it, maybe.
Yeah, I've gone with Gerrard and Lampard in the middle, and for similar but different reasons. Like, they're both obviously unbelievable footballers. You got Lampard has got the West Ham connection and came through our academy, and you got that infamous interview with Harry Redknapp where he put his neck on the line for him. Which,
do you think would West Ham fans be annoyed at you for picking Lampard?
I don't care.
No, I know that, but
I think maybe. I mean, if it was a West Ham 11, yes. If it was a West Ham all-time 11, there'd be other people for sure. Because he didn't do that much for us. He showed signs of it, but ultimately he kind of got pushed out of the club, to be honest. Because
really, How did you feel at the time when he left?
I mean, I don't think I'd be lying if I said I thought he was going to do what he did. Harry Redknapp, that's why that interview is so impressive.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, Redknapp is his uncle. Yeah. So he's sitting there with his nephew. He's been accused of nepotism because the fans are calling him Fat Lampard, Fat Frank, all this stuff, and he's still, if you look at his goal record for West Ham, it was pretty good.
Mate, I remember
20-year-old centre mid.
The first I saw of him was when you're younger, you get videos of the season review. And QPR had an amazing youth team. We won this, I think it was called the South East Combined Counties Cup or something like that. And we beat West Ham. And I think this might have been the under-16s, and Kevin Gallen was in there, and Danny Dichio and players like that. And Kevin Gallen's scored like 60 goals or something stupid. It was bizarre. But in that final, Frank Lampard's playing in that final, and Frank Lampard's like, he's a good few years younger. They must be under 18s. And he must be like 15 or something. And I think he scored a penalty in that. His knack of scoring goals, even at that stage, was pretty impressive for someone so young. But yeah, you were surprised that he went as far as he did.
It was actually, it's embarrassing if you actually think about it. I wasn't part of that. I was too young. I did not like Frank. I had the white third kit from the year I think we were in the Intertoto with Lampard on the back. I liked him as a player.
Yeah.
And I was upset when he left because I liked him. But a lot of fans didn't. And a lot of fans just assumed because he was maybe not setting the world alight because he's a young player. Young players are inconsistent, right? But because he was Redknapp's nephew, that there was that nepotism there. In fact, we just lost one of the best centre mids of all time, certainly in this country. I mean, goal scoring wise, I personally, if you're in that debate, I take Lampard over Gerrard. And I love Gerrard.
Wow.
But Lampard's consistency in goal scoring is unbelievable. Like, it's really unrivaled, in my opinion. And I don't think we make enough noise about him still now. And I don't really know why. Is it because he didn't win something with England or whatnot? I don't know. But he won things with Chelsea, won a lot with Chelsea. And also, I've been lucky enough to work with both of them as well. And that's not why they're in the team. But Lampard's a very, very nice guy. He actually went to the same school as me as well, which is quite cool. So, but that is something that is worth noting, you know, because it adds a little bit to it when you're growing up. Someone that went to your school,
doing
definitely that thing. It's just saying, everyone needs to see people like you do things. You know, obviously as a white male, I'm not short of examples, right?
Yes.
You know, often it's people in the more disenfranchised parts of society that lack those role models. But when it comes, every person knows someone from their school that went and did something. You know, and as a kid that was interested in football and sort of creativity, the two people who went to my school, Frank Lampard and Douglas Adams, who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, went to my school. So I had two really good examples of like, well, I know I'm not going to be a footballer, but, you know, can I do something in this? And that's important in life. So,
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Lampard, just unbelievable player. Wish he'd been at West Ham longer. I understand why he went to Chelsea, and then the rest is history. He's much more associated with Chelsea than he is West Ham, which is a shame because, you know, he's come through West Ham. His dad is a West Ham legend, Frank Lampard Senior. His uncle is a West Ham sort of legend, if you like, Harry Redknapp. And it's like he probably associates himself a lot of West Ham as a man, but had not the best experience there.
Do you think there's any way he could be West Ham's manager?
I don't think there's a way. I don't think the door would be closed necessarily. And obviously, we've got a great manager right now, so it's not something we need. But I don't think there's any animosity. I don't think the fans would. No, I mean, Benitez is the Everton manager, so anything can happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's... I think he's probably got more right to be annoyed with West Ham fans than the other way around. So it might be that he wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just find it interesting because it was, you know, if you think Ferdinand left, Joe Cole left, Carrick left, they all, like, you know, they all left. but somehow the Lampard thing, it seemed to sting some West Ham's fans.
I think it can only sting because West Ham fans realised they caused it.
Right.
Yeah, it's their fault. Do you know what I mean? I think he might have stayed. I think we might be able to keep him. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, and he's a quality player. And then Stevie G. Yeah. The guy's just, whilst I think I prefer Lampard in the overall debate, Stevie G had the moment factor in him. Do you know what I mean? He could just take a game. I mean, he did it to us. Liverpool, their famous FA Cup final. Yeah. Like that, from a West Ham, never won a trophy in my lifetime. Haven't won loads of trophies in general, really. And I'm sitting there as a young lad, I'm 17, 16 at the time, watching this final, and we're a second away from beating Liverpool, basically. And the whole of football, not just Liverpool fans, is just waxing lyrical about this guy, understandably, because he's pulled that out. It was at the Cardiff Millennium Stadium at the time.
Yeah, I remember.
At that stadium, in that last minute, in an FA Cup final, when you're about to get beat. It is amazing, but it killed me.
Oh, yeah.
At the time. But I still appreciate it, do you know what I mean? Because that's special to be able to do that. And it's not the only thing he's done. They've done multiple times for Liverpool, obviously Istanbul, a goal against Olympiacos. He's just... a special man, having obviously played against him, albeit in a much more low profile, casual event of the Wembley Cup, but still seeing that bit between his teeth that he has, even in a game like that, makes you appreciate why the man did what he did. And he's a leader. There's quite a few leaders in this team. God knows who'd be captain, but he'd have a good chance.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really good point. I think that says something about you as well.
It would be Bobby.
It would have to be Bobby, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But, I think we've gone through the bulk of the leaders here now. But Azpilicueta captain, Ferdinand captain, Lampard captain, Gerrard captain, Beckham captain. You've got some good captains in there. I think I pick Gerrard in that debate most of the time. And I think I get what you're saying. For me, Gerrard's just so blockbuster. I think that's what kind of puts it over the edge for me.
He is.
On the left-hand side, again, not worried about the West Ham fan base. He's got a mind of his own, this guy. Tell us about your left winger.
I think you'd be surprised, mate, because I've done a few of these West Ham teams. I think you'd be surprised by how many people would have him in there. Not to say they think he's the best man in the world, and not to say they like him particularly that much because of the way he sort of left us. But when I look at that team, I don't think there's anyone else on that team that made me feel the way Payet made me feel for about a 12, 18-month period. I know, the thing is, what you got to understand is a lot of the boys that will criticise me for this, or girls, whoever, will be fans of clubs who a Payet is it's just everyday stuff to them. Like Man United, Liverpool, they have totally players like this. West Ham don't have them. And I don't care what anyone else thinks. He was one of the best players in the world for about a year period. And I mean top 5, all positions in the world. I'm telling you, he was.
I remember the video. Yeah.
I will sit here and say how bad West Ham have been in my life or how bad certain players have been all day. I'm not this West Ham blind guy. People think I am. I know what we are. But I think there's a lot of people on the other side of that who don't give him the credit he deserves because he played for us. Right. He's just got to look at the facts. And obviously he's playing in Liga. His stats in Liga were a joke, but obviously it's Liga. But he came to the Prem. He didn't take 10 minutes to adjust. How many footballers have we seen take years to get? We've seen Torres set the world alight at Liverpool and then just forget how to play football at Chelsea. This man turned up in the hardest league in the world and was the best player, arguably, in the league, or one of the best, certainly, from the first minute. And he was playing against, good teams he was scoring goals against. Their free kick against Man United. Some of the individual moments he's produced. Of course, he didn't do it for 5-10 years. I wish he'd come sooner. I wish he'd stayed longer. But we haven't got a load of people that I can say I've sat there as a season ticket holder, watched every single week, do what he's done for our team. We were playing a certain kind of way under Bilic that season. It was the final season at the Bowley, and there was a lot of emotion in the air. We had a really good finish. We qualified for Europa League qualifiers. We had an unbelievable record that year against the big clubs.
Yeah.
I think we beat Liverpool twice. We drew and beat with Man United. I think we beat and drew with Arsenal. I think we only lost one game of all the games against the big clubs that season. It was unbelievable. I think it was the year Leicester won the league, same season. And he was a big part of that, massive part of that. But obviously Cresswell, other people I've mentioned were part of that team too. But Payet...
Yeah, it's different though. I feel your pain and frustration, because when you're not a fan of a top 6 team, you have these players who are your lightning rods, who you really put all your hope on, because those are the guys that are going to get you through, get you over the line, keep you up, or let you dream a little bit. And Payet was exactly one of those things. And the other thing that gets forgotten about is that people go, when a player's not playing for a top club, for want of a better phrase, that's like a mark on their name. I think it's the opposite. I think it means that means they have to be even better because they've got no help. Exactly. The same goes with strikers. I think sometimes, the fact that Antonio's doing what he's doing up front on his own, I think speaks so much more than a striker that has chances delivered to them on a plate every single week, because the overall quality of your 11 is better than the opposition's. That's not something that Payet had. And those players, when they have to go up that next level and deal with that, I guess it's pressure, but actually certain players thrive in those situations. And Payet that season was a joke. He was an absolute joke. And I think what is nice is that, yes, he did leave, and the fans are obviously annoyed by that. But it's just because you're sad that you're not going to get to see it anymore. So I think when it calms down a little bit as the years progress, the things that get forgotten is the animosity. You get yourself back to the bits that were brilliant, the highlight reel of goals, and just... especially those kind of players. Like QPR has been quite big on that, and I think West Ham's a similar thing, where you have the Joe Coles of this world, the Payets of this world, where they make it worth going. I
mean, Tarap's in the back of your shot there. Maybe more, because I was just listening to the Neil Warnock autobiography recently, and he talks a lot about him in there. I'm sure you've
I've read it. Yeah,
and he says how Tarap was frustrating, right, because he was so much he wouldn't do. But he just put up with it because of what he could do. Yeah. And Payet had a little bit of that about him, but I'd say Payet actually did put a shift in as well. He actually was a workhorse. But would Tarap be in your team?
I think I'd have to try and find a place for him somewhere. Yeah, just because that's it. I think the point, you don't go to football games when you're an average team for the average players who just, yes, you appreciate their work. And someone like Mark Noble's not in this team, and I understand why he's not, but I also understand why you would love him. But at the end of the day, it's about those guys that scored those mad. It's moments, isn't it? It's about moments a lot of the time, because it's certainly not about trophies. So someone like Payet or Tarap, they're pretty. For a moment, you get to be better than everyone else because he's your guy, and I think that's really, really powerful stuff. And I think it's a great shout. Yeah, because I do remember you did that video, didn't you? About you saying Payet was better than Ozil at the time.
Exactly, and I'd be interested to know how many of the people who mugged me off for that video think I was wrong now.
Yeah,
because I didn't say in the video that Payet's been better than Ozil. In the years prior to that video, I said I'm looking at football now, and yes, I do watch Ozil, and I'm telling you, Payet is not only better than Ozil in terms of deliverables, which is ultimately what the statisticians are going to throw at you. Well, look at the stats. At that point in time, Payet was bossing it, okay? But I'm also saying that how many people have to explain to you why Ozil's good?
Obviously, that's a great point. Sometimes
moments where I don't need to. I can just go Payet. We'll just watch this. You're like, oh yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. And Ozil had the moments, of course, brilliant. Wasn't saying Ozil was a bad footballer at any point ever. No. I think he just lost it. He definitely lost it. By a few years into Arsenal, it was gone, and the English game didn't help him at all. But there were so many people offended by that, and I just find it hilarious because, again, if Payet was playing at Man United, it wouldn't have been a discussion. Would not have been a discussion, I'm telling you. It's just because he was playing for West Ham.
I tell you what, in the comments, guys, let us know now, kind of after the fact, I guess, if you were picking a dream team, who would you pick first, Payet or Ozil? If you've got to pick one of those two.
I was never saying that Payet had a better career. Obviously, Ozil won the World Cup, and Ozil was. And I was a big Ozil fan, believe it or not, watching him as he was younger. But I was saying at that point in time, and I would say from that moment on as well, quite clearly, Payet has been far superior to Ozil. So I think that was 2016 maybe when I made that video. That I would argue till I'm blue in the face. I genuinely believe that. But Ozil had an incredible career. It just stopped at about 27.
Yeah.
Me,
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. Right, front two. Cracking front two. I love it. We've spoken about Antonio a couple of times, but he doesn't make it. But I think he'll understand. Let's go left to right on this one, because there's one that a few people have had. I think a few more people will have. But and then leave your club legend to the final pick. Take me through your front two.
One with the Brazilian Antonio. No, that's what they call him over there. R9, Ronaldo. I mean, like, listen, if we're talking about best players in the world, like, obviously I've not got Ronaldo or Messi in my team. Like, I know that they're the best. I know that they should be in any team that you could ever make, but it's not what this is about. And R9 is up there as one of the best strikers of all time, certainly in the conversation, probably top 3 or 4 minimum. But again, it's about that era. And he was a superstar striker of my time. Very, very fun to watch. Part of that, obviously, unbelievably entertaining Brazil team. 98 World Cup, was great. Didn't win it, but was super, super effective. And then, obviously, 2002, he had his kind of comeback, if you like, where he won it with Brazil. But throughout that, scoring goals in every team he played in. He's managed to play for Barca, Real Madrid, Inter, and AC. Like, not many players that have done that.
That's crazy.
And scored goals wherever he's gone. And he brought out his own football boot.
I was going to say the R9 boot was gorgeous.
Yeah, I had the AstroTurfs. I always remember, funny random story, but I was walking through a place called Braintree Freeport, which is in Essex, like a shopping village place. And me and my friend Faisal, who's part of hashtag sort of history, and he's obviously an Asian guy, we both had a pair. And this kid came up to us and just went, "You got the same boots? Are you brothers?" No, mate. But the R9, the point is that everyone had them. We all had them.
Yeah.
We bought them not because we were particularly good and we thought it would make us better. We've wanted them because, obviously, that's quite commonplace now. Footballer making something very cool, and it wasn't really at that time. Certainly, there'd been player boots and stuff, but they were generally just your classic like black boots, and then this sort of silver and blue swoosh, yellowy boot comes out, and you're like, this is different to what I'm used to.
No, I think you're right. Like, certainly in basketball, you got Air Jordans, but in terms of this guy's, it's his boot. I can't really think of. I think Messi's had his.
Been some, like,
but I don't think it's been as loved.
Guys had boots, but they were just like very basic. It was just like a black boot. And it might say like Maradona on it or whoever. They've done stuff like that, but not obviously. Yeah, now it's all the time. But this was such a different looking boot, wasn't it? The colours of it. It was like a spaceship.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like when you put them on. You felt like you could just, as a kid, you genuinely believe the right boots will make you like 50% better at football, and even though that's nonsense, we know now it didn't matter because you felt like if you bought those boots, your mum and dad got you those boots, there
were goals in them boots.
Sorry, it's unfair on everyone else because I'm just so good at football. But that's because the way he played. And his step overs and his both footedness and his just power and pace. I loved him. Great player. And I think Ronaldo and Messi have kind of ruined it for everyone in the sense that what they've done, the consistency and quality of their careers have made people like R9 look less effective because maybe his purple patch might have been an 8 or 9 year period instead of a 15-year period.
Yeah.
It's just so unheard of what these two aliens have done that people like R9 start to look like mortals again. But maybe I like that about him. Maybe I like the fact that he's not this infallible god that is Cristiano Ronaldo, who just seems like you wouldn't even
like
be able to have a conversation with him without him making you do a sit-up. Do you know what I mean? It just seems like he's not human. Whereas R9, he's got that fallibility. He put on a load of weight when he stopped playing. Even when he was playing, he put on a bit of weight. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. I think my only sadness with him is that, from my personal point of view, I think I saw a bit of Inter Milan. I think I was like, oh, who's this guy from Barcelona? Then he got to Inter Milan, and then from kind of then on, he was injury prone. I didn't see him like at his very, very, very most lethal. And even in World Cup '98, like, he had the seizure, didn't he? Like on the World Cup final. That's my only sort of sadness about him. But when you see all the clips of him, like, it's his feet, his finishing, like, unbelievable player. Yeah, crazy. And last up, this is a great one to finish off with. I think if I was you, he would have been in the team, and I was hoping that he would be in the team. So I'm pleased you picked him. Tell me about your final pick.
Well, I wouldn't have him as a politician. As a player,
just get that in.
I don't like his politics, love his football. And there's a lot of players like that. But Di Canio, he's just... I love him. At West Ham, I mean, we only got to sign him because he pushed the ref over, which straight away I can relate to. I've never pushed the ref. But he's come over to West Ham, and in a team that wasn't good again, a team that I think we went down with him. Pretty sure we went down with him.
So later down the line, you went down with him, didn't you?
Yeah,
right in his last season, right?
Our first relegation, yeah. Our first relegation in my time that I can remember anyway. There's been so many. But Di Canio, a scorer of great goals. Again, if you look at he scored arguably one of the best goals in Premier League history. One goal of the year, 1999 against Wimbledon. Trevor Sinclair cross, the bicycle technique. Like, I don't know what you even call it. We've all done it, right? And we all say Di Canio and I hit. Yeah. We do that thing, right? I'd
use the word "done it" or the words "done it" loosely.
Tried it. Tried it.
Yeah.
Every time I do one of those little bangs, either I shout it or I think it's
Di Canio.
Yeah. And it's some great goal. I mean, he scored a couple of quality goals against Chelsea in different games. One of them where he just fixed out on his left foot as well from about 30 yards out. Like, technically way underrated, this guy. I don't think he ever got a cap for Italy. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that.
Let me
and check that because I think that's right. But he obviously did have a little bit of a explosive personality.
Correct.
Italy got a cap for Italy.
Played for under-21s, played for Italy B. Do you remember B teams? Got B one teams, cap for that. But never played for the Azzurri. No.
I mean, he would have obviously had a hell of a lot of competition. In the era of Del Piero, Vieri, Inzaghi's, all these sorts of guys. But it's amazing they couldn't find room for him. And he's a little bit like Payet, actually. He's got a career kicked in a bit late. A little bit late. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday before West Ham, came to West Ham, played for a few other teams after us as well. He went to Charlton for a bit. The clip of him when he was at Charlton doing something crazy as well. He does this he does a Rabona volley. And this is in 2000 or something. I don't know when it was, but these things weren't that commonplace. And he's someone flicks it into him on the volley and he jumps up. And I've tried to recreate this. It's hard. A Rabona volley, both his feet in the air. And he hits pieces with power, and he just had that thing about him. I think Antonio's matched him now for goals. So I think they've overtaken him actually. But he kept that record for a long time, Di Canio.
So he's got 118 games for West Ham, 47 goals. I think that's quite good. That's pretty solid, certainly for someone who kind of he did drift about a bit as well, within the game. He wouldn't just stay up front and try and constantly score goals. I think. You've got
to remember, that's not in a great team either.
True.
You're never going to have a goal a game ratio at West Ham. It's just not possible.
Yeah, that's true. So a team that sort of gently declined as it went along. Had a few all right players along the way, and he was always the one. But Matt, he's proper box office. It comes back to what we were saying about Tarap. Tarap was a knob. He was a knob whilst we had him. He was difficult. And I'm not saying Di Canio was a complete knob, but there were certain scenarios. I want to say it was a game against maybe Bradford or something. He had a massive argument with Frank Lampard about penalties. He would get, he was just so emotional. But kind of within that, you sort of like you say, it's about being fallible, I think, sometimes. And so you kind of loved him for all of that. He used to wear, I don't know if he did it all the time or if it was just in that goal against Wimbledon, but he would wear his shorts the wrong way round. I don't know if it was just that game. I'm trying to remember. I think he wore his shorts the wrong way around.
Not that is funny.
Someone have to find out.
Maybe that's the secret of the technique. Maybe that gives you a little bit more. But you say that about him being a knob and that sort of thing, which I don't disagree with. But famously, he did that thing at Everton. Remember when he had the chance to score?
Yeah.
And he picked up the ball, and Lampard Redknapp was just fuming with him. He's like, no. And I'll be honest, I'd have put it in the back of the net. I would have put it in the back of the net, and then I would have checked on him.
Let's talk. Yeah.
Most of us would have.
Yeah.
And he does that, and it's it's almost like, have you got a screw loose, or are you actually a really nice? Well, I don't think he's a really nice person. I think he's shown in certain things that he's got that streak to him. But They just show the interestingness of the character. He's also got a West Ham tattoo, which I think does mean something. You know, like he's not an English guy, but certain people come over and they fall in love with our club, and that means something to the fans to know that he's done that. And surprised he never did come back during that era where he was actually. There was a period in his management when his stock was quite high when he went from Swindon into Sunderland. His first initial results there were very promising. And that would probably be in the time to get him. It's not going to happen now, obviously. But he would be worshipped if he'd come back to West Ham for sure.
I think, do you know what it is? It's ultimately, you know, and you talk about Football Italia. We've had a lot of people on this series who've talked about Football Italia. I think within the sort of love of that, it's the romance of football, and it's the Italian nature. And I think that's a big thing with Paolo Di Canio, that he is volatile. You know, and he's passionate, and it goes the wrong way, but it also goes too far the right way sometimes, and all of those bits put together make you feel for him. You know, you could hate him, you could love him, you'll feel something though, because he was feeling everything all the time. I think that is a big part of it, and probably lent to some of the goals that he scored, because he was just kind of instinctive, wasn't he? Yeah, he could do.
We had another player that was like that. He didn't do the same level of stuff that Canio did. We had a player called Diamante.
All right.
No, Zaza. Diamante though, like, was very similar in his kind of personality, if you like, and didn't stay with us long enough to have that. But we felt like he could have had that Di Canio-esque reputation. I mean, he had an incredible stat, I was told, at one point when he signed for West Ham in his career, he'd scored more free kicks than he'd not scored.
Really?
It's outrageous. I mean, his free kicks were a joke. This is not Di Canio, this is Diamante.
That's Diamante, yeah.
But his stat, I mean, I've heard that multiple times, so who knows if it's true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me because his free kicks were so good that he had that exact same sort of persona. But when I look at my team now, I look at that, what you say about box office, like, probably apart from the two fullbacks, every single player is a player that, yes, I'm sure other people will have another player they could interchange with them, but he's like, I want to see them play. Like, if this was any game in any generation and that was a lineup going on, and again, maybe Di Canio's a little bit, you know, niche to West Ham fans, but they've all got that, like, what's going to happen today with them about them, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Which I think is really nice. And the fullbacks,
even the goalie, right?
Exactly.
Crazy.
And the fullbacks always, that's every football team, it's where you just put them in last, don't you? We would still left back and a right back, we'll sort them out at the end. But,
do you know what's amazing here? I think you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people who will be standing around a free kick outside the edge of the box. Like, that's ridiculous. Beckham, Chilavert, Lampard would probably go, Lampard, off you go. Gerrard would want it, Payet would want it, Cresswell would probably get told to go away. Di Canio would kick up a fuss and maybe get it at the end of it all. But yeah, amazing.
Beckham's on all set pieces. Bobby Moore captain. Stevie G vice captain, I reckon. Cresswell maybe on the right-sided corners if you want an in-swinger on him. Yeah. Just to give him something to do.
Just to mix it up. Just make him feel involved.
And then Payet, I actually think Payet would be my second on free kicks.
Yeah.
After Beckham.
Really?
If he's got an injury or anything, it'd be Payet, yeah. His free kicks are a joke, mate.
So, final two questions. One's going to be unique to you, and one is one that I ask everyone at the end of their dream team. So let's do that one first. Who is the manager of this team? What's your gut call?
If you're going to ask that.
What's your gut? And I want a gut call on that.
You know what? I was thinking about this. Do you know who it's going to be?
Go for it.
Gareth Southgate.
Wow, really?
I know that will be unpopular with some people.
Oh, they can shut up. Yeah, man.
Because he has had the second and third best performance at a tournament of England ever in these two tournaments he's done. He could only have done one better, which is win it, and he only lost on penalties. Okay, you can argue with his choices to sub certain penalty takers on whatever. Penalties are random. There's a lottery. You cannot control them. And if a ball had gone in a different direction on a different night, he would be sitting here as a Euros winner, right? And no one could complain about that. Literally, that people that still don't like him, it's purely because a penalty was missed. Or saved or whatever.
Mate. Yeah, you know I love
But
Southgate.
He embodies the kind of person I want a manager to be. And I think it's more of an international manager than a club manager thing. But an international manager is much more than... It's a completely different job. An international manager doesn't transfer players, doesn't have to do any of that side of things, doesn't deal with his players, 300 days of the year. But you represent the country. And for me, in a time particularly where there's a lot of politics out there and things like Brexit happening, a lot of things that I don't personally agree with or associate myself with, to have a manager who, he's not coming out and he's being overly political, Southgate, but he does probably represent a much closer.
He's got values, doesn't he?
I do.
He's got values.
And things like when our government officials were coming out and not condemning people for not taking the knee and things like this and almost encouraging the booing of it, our manager came out and did the opposite against what his prime minister was doing against. And some people won't care about that. And that's fine, but I do. And for me, the other thing about Southgate, not just his performance as England manager, not just the quality of the man, but is his narrative. In my lifetime, to see this guy be public enemy number one, miss a penalty that, not set up Euro 96, get all that stick and that horrible abuse, to then only thing that can be better would have been winning the Euros. If we just won the Euros, I mean, he had that moment where we won the penalty shootout against Colombia, which was his sort of beautiful comeback, if you like, of having a penalty win. If we just win the penalty shootout at the Euros, it's just that most amazing. It's a film
at home as well. At home, of course. I guess you've still got a World Cup. We've still got a World Cup. You never know. Mate, I totally agree. I think actually that one of the most important elements of a manager now is to bring people together. And he's done that certainly with the team, but more importantly, people are looking at England or international football differently, those players differently, with a bit more kindness, and I think that's a massive legacy that hopefully will continue once he's gone. Final question, and this will be a question that will only ever be asked to you. You're allowed to put in one hashtag United player of any time into this team. Who goes in?
Well, the big cop out would be
not you.
The weak spot, a left back. I'll stick myself in. No, I mean, I'm looking at the team. This is the thing. So probably my favourite hashtag player ever is a guy called Dan Brown, who's still our top goal scorer. Was with us all through our kind of YouTube chapter, if you like, and he's a lovely man as well. He's a good friend of mine, and I just love him. But I don't think I can put him in ahead of R9 or Di Canio. So I'm probably looking at a fullback, to be honest. And we haven't. I mean, it's tough.
You go to a back three, right? You could put if you're keeping Beckham in, you could put Beckham as a right sort of wing back, Cresswell on the left, and that allows you to take one of those five out. If you can find
what I'll do, if I'm putting a hashtag player in there, I'll change the team up a little bit. I'll play 3 centre mids, Lampard, Gerrard and Beckham. I'll take Payet out. Okay. And I'll just stick R9 with Di Canio and DB either side of him. There you go. I don't want to pick a current hashtag player because their legacies are not yet written.
Finished, yeah.
The DB's is a Hall of Famer.
That's it. You go. Couldn't agree more. Wonderful. Spencer, mate, it's always a joy having a chat with you, mate. Great team. Solid team. Loved chatting through it with you. Mate, nice one. Well done. And at 10 years' time, we'll have another look, and there'll be some more hashtag United players in there, I'm sure.
Or all the current West Ham team.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Declan Rice is a World Cup winning captain, maybe. Who knows? Oh. Right, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you're new to the channel, there's a whole host of dream teams that you can go and enjoy. Ben Foster's one I didn't say as well. That's another one that was in there. Go check them all out. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Of course, check out Spencer if by some miracle you have no idea about Hashtag United, which is an amazing channel, and of course Spencer's channel as well. And let me know about all the things we've discussed in the comments down below. I'll see you next time.